Nobody starts out as an expert RVer, and you don't know what you don't know. Every RVer has made mistakes, some small, some big, and some super expensive. And some of those mistakes could have been avoided with just a little bit of preparation. Buying an RV is exciting, but there is a learning curve that comes along with it. So today we're going to be talking about 30 of the most common mistakes that brand new RVers make, and hopefully I can help you avoid some costly and just some stressful situations. Let's go ahead and dive straight in. Buying the wrong RV. Sometimes the biggest mistake RVers make is walking off the lot with the wrong RV. I'm going to be talking next week all about RVs and how to choose the right one and questions to ask and things to know. Number one is a common mistake, and that is buying an RV that is too big. It's not about having the biggest, most impressive, and most expensive RV out there. It's about having the one that fits your lifestyle, and honestly, the floor plan is going to matter more than anything, but don't worry, next week I'm going to be talking all about that, so you make sure you choose the right rig. Number two is along that same lines, and that's not considering your daily comforts when choosing your RV. It is really about making sure that you are comfortable inside your RV and that the layout works for you. So I am absolutely going to be talking about this next week, but just know that one of the biggest mistakes RVers make is not truly considering what your daily lifestyle and routine is like. So make sure that you check out next week because we're going to talk all about that. Number three is assuming that everything inside your RV is quality made. You're going to learn very quickly that RV manufacturers take some shortcuts, and you're going to have to be doing a lot of replacing and upgrading. So just know that from the beginning, and don't expect that the second you walk off the lot, everything in your RV is beautifully made, perfectly put together, and is going to last. Preparation mistakes before your first trip. Number four is not learning your RV systems. Now, once you hit the road, you're definitely going to be learning all about your RV, all the ins and outs, but before you even hit the road, take a little bit of time and learn how to read your gauges for your water tanks, how your propane turns on and off. You also want to know where your circuit breakers are. Just do a little bit of research before you even hit the road to make sure that you know just the basics of your RV, but don't worry, you're going to learn it all once you do hit that road. Number five is not practicing before your first trip. I highly recommend that when you do get your RV, you take it out and give it a little test drive in an area that you're familiar with. Whether it's your neighborhood or the town that you live in, having an area where you don't need to be worrying about whether or not a road is a dead end or how do you get from point A to point B, just take your RV out, drive it around a little bit, test the brakes, see how wide the turns need to be, give it a little bit of a drive before you even hit the road in a familiar area, because once you get out into unfamiliar territory, all bets are off and you're going to be having a lot more things to think about, and it's just going to be a lot less stressful if you already have a few miles behind that wheel. Number six is thinking you have everything figured out before you hit the road. You're going to definitely be learning a lot once you hit the road, but as I've mentioned in numbers 4 and number 5, just having some familiarity with your RV, with how it drives, with where things are before you pack it up and go out on an adventure is really going to take a lot of stress off of you. And so just make sure that you are doing your best to learn as much as you can before you hit the road. Number 7 is packing too much. We are all guilty of that. I still have Tupperware in my cabinets that I have never even used. I don't know why I don't just take them out, but you're definitely going to be so excited about your trip. You're going to think you need everything, and the truth is you're not. So just be a little bit of a minimalist, be a little selective about what you bring, and just know that if you need something along the way, you can purchase it. And honestly, we've done quite a few Goodwill drops, just taking things that we just don't use that we thought we would, and gotten rid of quite a bit. So you don't need an entire 16-piece setting of silverware and plates and all of that stuff. Start with 4, see if that's going to work for you, because less is more when it comes to RVing. Driving and safety mistakes. Number 8 is ignoring weight limits. That's both for how much your RV can handle, weight-wise, as well as what your vehicle can handle. So if you're towing a fifth wheeler or a tow-behind travel trailer, you need to make sure that you know what the weight limits are for your particular vehicle, as well as what the weight limits are for your RV. Those are important numbers to have, and you definitely do not want to ignore them. Number 9, not checking your tire pressure. Once we've been on the road for about 10 miles and the wheels have warmed up a little bit, we always check the pressure for our tires, both our RV tires and our truck tires, because you definitely don't want to be driving on low tires, and so always check your pressure. Just get into the habit of checking that tire pressure every time you hit the road. Number 10 is driving too fast, and we definitely learned this the hard way. Unfortunately, in the beginning, Garner was driving a little faster than he should have, and we completely shredded our tire. That was a nice nightmare on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, Texas. In your RV, you do not want to be driving super fast. We tend to not drive over 65, 68 miles per hour at the tops. But when you're in your RV, don't be in a hurry, slow down, take your time, and do not drive too fast because a lot of bad things can happen if you end up going faster than you should. Number 11 is skipping the walk around before leaving. This is something that we do every single time we leave anywhere, whether we're leaving an RV park, a Walmart parking lot, a rest stop. We always do a walk around the entire rig just to make sure that everything looks okay. So do not make the mistake of forgetting to do your walk around, because you're going to be pretty upset if you drive off and are miles down the road and realize that you forgot your water pressure gauge at the RV park. So make sure you do that walk around, check everything, and so you don't leave anything behind and everything looks good. Number 12 is forgetting to secure everything before you hit the road. Look, I've been doing this for a long time, and there are still times where I forget to secure things, and we get back into our RV and realize that I forgot to secure something and it has made a mess, it's broken, there's a lot of things. So you really want to try your best to make sure that you secure everything before you hit the road, but just be aware, you're still gonna forget things, it happens. It doesn't matter if I have a checklist or not, I'm still gonna forget things. Number 13 is one of those things that I tell just about every new RVer that I meet, and it is the number one piece of advice that we learned the hard way, and that is trying to park your rig in the dark. I will tell you, I have a really good story about us for the very first night that we were on our own and we got to our RV park too late trying to park our rig in the dark. Whether you're a brand new RVer or a seasoned RVer, you do not want to be doing that. But I have that story for you at the very end in case you want to hear that, because it's a funny one. It's one of my favorite ones to tell, but unfortunately it was a mistake that we learned the hard way. So don't park your rig when it's dark. It is not fun. Number 14 is backing up without a spotter. Now, if you're a solo RVer, I know that this is really hard to do because if you're solo, there's not always somebody around to help you. If you have a partner with you, definitely have one of them learn to be the spotter, what to look out for. I am Garner's spotter. We've got our own language. We've got that backing up down, but I don't think he would feel ever comfortable backing up without somebody there to help him out. And if you are solo, don't be afraid to ask a neighbor. Ask somebody in the RV park to help you be a spotter, because honestly, it is worth the embarrassment of having to ask for a little bit of help rather than the embarrassment of running into a tree or a pole. I want to take a quick minute to tell you about the Wandering RV Companion Guide that I have put together. If you are brand new to RVing or thinking about hitting the road, this is the guide that I wish that I had when I first started. It has everything from helping you plan your RV trips to keeping track of your campgrounds. It's also a great place to keep track of your maintenance on your rig, which is going to be very helpful when you go to sell your rig, or making sure that you remember when you last replaced your tires or when you last had that repair done. I've got everything in there. This 30-page ebook is going to be a lifesaver for you in helping you not only keep track of all of your RV adventures, but keep track of everything you need to know about your RV. So check the link in the description below. I've got a link to that companion guide for you, and I hope that it is helpful for you because, man, I wish I had it when I first started, but now I've done all the work for you. All you gotta do is fill in the blanks and go out on your adventure. Trip planning mistakes. Number 15 is booking campgrounds too late. There are a lot of RV parks that are really popular, especially during certain times of the year, so I highly recommend you do a little bit of planning and try to book out those popular places as far in advance as you possibly can. Make sure those reservations are refundable because you never know when things are going to change, but if there's some place that you really want to go, do not wait to the last minute to book those campgrounds because you want to make sure that you've got a spot in the places you want to be. Number 16 is trying to see and do too much. It is so tempting to want to be able to go out and do everything, have every day an adventure, but the truth of the matter is RVing can be a little bit tiring, especially travel days, and so you want to make sure that you are mapping out your plans and your schedule so that you have some downtime. It is really tempting to think you're going to spend 1 week in Utah and see all 5 of the national parks there. Each one of those RV parks needs at least a week to itself, so if you've got the time, slow down, take your time, travel slowly because you don't want to lead to burnout. Number 17 is not doing just a little bit of research before you take roads that you're not familiar with. Every time Garner and I hit the road, we basically know what route we're taking, but every once in a while we'll need to stop and get gas or we need to use a rest stop. And I will tell you, Google Earth is my go-to. I am always on there checking the actual satellite pictures to see whether or not a road is going to be a good road to take. That is also how I tell whether or not a gas station is going to be easy to get in and out of. So use Google Earth, take advantage of the technology that we have, and do just a little bit of research ahead of time if you need to, just to make sure that the place that you're headed is not going to get you stuck. Number 18 is one of my favorites, and that's brand new RVers do not get into the habit of checking the weather forecasts. Knowing what the weather is going to be, especially on travel days, is vital to making sure that you have a safe and comfortable drive to your next location. I am constantly checking the weather, checking to see what it's like along the way, if we're gonna have wind, snow, rain. You want to make sure that you are not hit with something that is unexpected. Definitely, again, take advantage of the technology that we have and do just a little bit of research a day or two leading up to your travel as well as on your travel day, just to make sure you don't get caught in a storm, because they are no fun to drive through. And honestly, if there's high winds, it can be a tragic, tragic mistake to be trying to drive in 40+ mph winds, because your RV is not going to win against Mother Nature. Campground and setup mistakes. Number 19 is not wearing gloves when you are hooking up or unhooking your RV. This is really important, and I'm not talking just about pinching your fingers or dropping things on your hands. Gloves are really important because there have been so many times, way more than Garner would like, where he has opened up an electrical box at a campground and there's been a wasp's nest or a spider or bugs or creatures. And so you want to make sure that your hands are protected, especially when you're going to open those electrical boxes, because you never know what's hiding in there. So put those gloves on, protect yourself from a bite, a sting, a smash, a pinch. It will absolutely save you a lot of curse words. Number 20 is not leveling your RV properly. Now, I'm not talking just about leveling your RV so that your refrigerator is working properly, but also just to save you a little bit of daily annoyance. Because if your RV is not level, every time you open a cabinet, well, hello there. I got Finny here. Hi. You going back to sleep? Okay, good night. Where was I? Okay, so every time you open an RV cabinet and your RV's not level, that cabinet can often swing closed and it's kind of annoying. So you just wanna make sure that your RV is level. Anytime we get to a site and we level the RV, I do the cabinet check just to make sure that that cabinet door is gonna stay open, because it can be really annoying if they're constantly swinging closed on you. Number 21 is for brand new RVers, and that is underestimating the setup and breakdown time. It is going to take you probably twice as long for the first month or two when you're setting up your rig or breaking down your rig ready to move to the next location, because you are going to need to make sure that you go through a checklist and are paying attention to everything that you need to do. But once it becomes routine, that honestly takes a lot less time. It used to take us about an hour and a half, and now I think Garner could get it done in about 45 minutes as long as nothing breaks, which sometimes it does, especially on travel days. But you're gonna wanna make sure that you don't underestimate that setup and breakdown time, especially in the beginning of your RV adventures. Number 22, do not learn this lesson the hard way. We have not learned this lesson, but you wanna make sure you do not leave your awning out and unattended. Every RVer knows that when those wind gusts come through, if you've got an awning out and you don't have an automatic on retract system, which we don't, it can be detrimental to your RV awning. So anytime you have your awning out, make sure that you're home, preferably that you're outside. We do leave ours out, but I also have the windows open so that I can pay attention to see if the trees are blowing, and I bring it in immediately if I start seeing too much wind. So do not leave that RV awning out unattended, because you don't want to be out for the day, come back, realize you left it out, and now it's a little bit busted up because some wind came through. It happens. Number 23 is forgetting to turn off the water when you're filling your freshwater tanks. This is not uncommon. A lot of times RVers will be setting up their rig, they'll fill up their fresh tanks and let it run until they're full, and then they kind of forget about it. We've done it, we've seen other people doing it. I've definitely knocked on some doors because I've seen water spewing out of the overflow valve and just say, hey, you forgot to turn your RV water off, and they get that shocked look on their face like, oh my gosh, you're right, thank you. So it is a common thing. You're gonna do it. Trust me, you're gonna do it. Think of me when you do it. But just know that you do have an overflow valve, and so it's not going to really cause any problems. Hopefully, as long as your overflow valve is working and not clogged up. But it is something you're gonna forget to do, and just try not to do it because it's a waste of water. It causes a puddle around your RV, and it's kind of embarrassing when somebody has to knock on your door and tell you forgot to turn it off. Money, maintenance, and resource mistakes. Number 24 is waiting too long to dump your tanks. Now you've got your black tank and your gray tank. Your black tank, you definitely wanna make sure you dump that as often as you can. We do ours about once a week. You're gonna start to smell it once it gets too full, so you wanna make sure that you're dumping that pretty regularly. And then your gray tanks, if you do forget to dump your gray tanks or they've gotten full, You're gonna notice pretty quickly because suddenly the shower won't drain, the kitchen sink won't drain, something won't drain, and just know that that's because you need to dump those gray tanks. So don't wait too long to do it. Try to dump every time before you leave a site if you have full hookups. That way you're not traveling with that extra weight on the road and you don't have to worry about doing it when you get to your next campground. Number 25, using too much water when boondocking. You're gonna learn very quickly when you're boondocking or when you don't have full hookups how quickly you can go through water. Water is a commodity that in America we are very lucky to have such an abundance of, and you wanna make sure that you're paying attention to how much water you're using, especially if you're off-grid or dry camping, because you wanna make sure that you are using your water sparingly. Your first few times boondocking, you're probably going to be shocked at how much water you use and how quickly you use it up. But don't worry, you'll learn how to conserve that water and be much better about making sure that you have enough water to last however long you're going to be off-grid. Number 26 is not carrying basic tools. Now, what tools you use is really going to be dependent on what rig you have. You're going to want to make sure you have a basic toolkit that has your screwdrivers, wrenches, hammers, all that good stuff in it. But I also recommend that you have jumper cables as well as an air compressor in case you need to fill your tires somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. You're going to learn what basic tools you need, but do not leave without at least some set of basic tools. Number 27 is not properly budgeting for maintenance. You are going to have maintenance costs. Some of them are going to be super cheap, like just picking up a small part, and some of them are going to be super expensive, like we had to fix our slide 3 times at least $3,000 each. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a very good slush fund and understand that you're going to need to dive into that because you're going to have maintenance and some of them are going to be costly, and you do not want to be caught off guard by not having a correct budget for that maintenance. Number 28, thinking that fuel is going to be your biggest expense. It is going to be an expense, and honestly, just depending on what's going on in the world, it's going to depend on how big of an expense that is, but your biggest expense is probably going to be those maintenance items that were unfortunately ones that you weren't expecting. So fuel is going to be an expense, probably not going to be your largest expense. Number 29 is ignoring roof maintenance. Your roof is going to be baking in the sun quite a bit, and you want to make sure that you're regularly checking out the roof to make sure that there's no cracks or holes or anything going on up there, because it's something that you don't see every day, and so you're going to want to make sure you check it once in a while. If you're parked in an area with any kind of trees, you're going to also definitely want to make sure that you check your slide outs before you bring them in. So every time we're under a tree, I always have to remind Garner, hey, make sure you go up on the roof and check the slide out. And then I hear him climb up there and I hear the broom sweeping off all the debris from the leaves and acorns and whatever has fallen onto that slide. And you want to make sure you're not bringing that slide in with all that debris there. So while he's up there, he also does a little bit of a check to make sure that the roof looks good. There's nothing that looks alarming. So don't forget to put roof maintenance into your regular routine of checking it at least once a month. But again, if you're parked under a tree and you've got to climb up there to sweep off those slides, make sure you're giving it a little bit of a once-over to make sure everything looks good. Mindset mistakes. Number 30, it's our last one, and it is an important one. Don't ever be afraid to ask for advice or for help. I cannot tell you how friendly the RV community is. Everybody is in the same boat. We are all looking out for each other. And anytime anybody has some advice or some help that they can offer to a neighbor, they are happy and willing to do so. So if there's something going on with your RV and you've got a neighbor who looks like they might know what they're doing, don't be afraid to go over and ask them for some advice, some help. I will tell you, my dad is the guy with the massive amount of tools in the back of his truck, and he has helped numerous people inside RV parks because something is broken, something is not working, and he's happy to be there to help out. I know that there are a lot of people like him that exist in the RVing world, and so do not ever be afraid to ask for advice, for help, or even just an extra hand if you're working on something and you just need a little bit of help. Don't be embarrassed. Don't let your pride get in the way of getting that advice or that help, because it is absolutely one of my favorite things about this RV life is everybody is so wonderful and willing to be there for you, watch your back, and help you out in a jam. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Whew, so there you go. Those are 30 of the most common mistakes that brand new RVers make. I hope they were helpful for you. I am now going to tell you that story about the time that we had to park our rig in the dark, and it was not a pleasant experience. So to give you a little bit of setup, we had been on the road for a few weeks, but we'd been traveling with my parents. Now my dad is a seasoned RVer. He's had an RV for years, and so we spent a lot of time traveling with them, getting to know our RV and being comfortable with it. This was the first night that we were going to be on our own, parking our rig at our own campsite. We had branched off from them, and it didn't quite go as we had planned. We had made a stop along the way and it ended up taking a little bit longer, and so we got to our area of our RV park later than we had wanted. Now there was something going on with the address, and the address for the RV park was not where it was saying it was. And so I had called them, I was trying to get directions from them. Unfortunately, they were not very helpful or very kind, so I kind of hung up frustrated with them. We eventually figured out where we were going. When we got to the RV park, it was about dusk. It was starting to get pretty dark. They were just getting ready to close. We got checked in and then they said, all right, have fun. And this was a huge RV park, like a really big RV park with a lot of trees, tons of ponderosa trees. And so I asked them, I said, is there any way that you can direct us to our site? Because it was getting dark, it was our first time, and there's trees everywhere. And they said no. Now, ironically, I have never since then had an RV park that has not been kind. It just happened to be that one RV park that they just were not helpful. I don't know if they were annoyed or just ready to go home. I don't know. But they didn't want to help us out. So they gave me the map, gave me the directions, and I said, okay. So we start driving to our site, and we ended up in this area where there was this huge opening and like 5 roads coming off of this huge opening. And the problem was that the street signs for those roads, they were named like Ace of Spades, 5 of Hearts, like they had like sort of names like that on them. And the sign for the road was in the middle of each road. So you had 5 roads and these signs in the middle. And so I didn't know if the road was to the right of the sign or to the left of the sign. We couldn't figure it out. So we sat there for a minute waiting, trying to figure out where we were going. I got out of the truck and was kind of like walking up the roads, trying to figure out where to go. It's getting darker and darker. And then a security guard comes up and I thought, oh, thank goodness, the security man's gonna help me. And so he pulls up, he asks us what our site number is. I tell him and he says, okay, follow me. So we start to follow him, and it wasn't that long into following him that I looked at Garner and I said, something about this doesn't feel right. And so I said, just stop for a second. So we stopped and the security guy stopped and he sort of sat there for a second, and I was like looking at the map and I was like, this is not right. I was looking at the numbers. I was like, this is not right. And then the security guard just took off. Like, I think he realized that he was leading us astray and didn't want to deal with it, and so he just took off. It is now officially dark. Garner and I are like super stressed out, and so I said, okay, let's try to get back to that clearing that we were in, because we knew it was one of those roads, and I said, I'm just gonna walk until I find our site and I can walk us there. So we start to drive and we're trying to get back to that big opening, and we're coming up a street and we're gonna make, I don't remember if we were gonna make a right or a left, but this man comes out of another site and he's like going like this, which is never a good sign. And he comes up to the door and he goes, if you're turning right, you're never gonna make that turn. And if you do make that turn, you're definitely not gonna make the next turn. He goes, where's your site? So we gave him our site number and he's like, okay, I know where that's at. And he jumped on his quad. He goes, let me just go check to make sure I know where it's at. And he jumped on his quad and he drove off, and a few minutes later he came back and he goes, okay, I know where you're going, follow me. And he took us in this direction, and he was right. If we had made a right-hand turn, we would not have made that next turn. It was like super tight, and I don't know why that was even existing in an RV park, but it was. So we follow him on the quad. He takes us around. He gets us into our site. We pull in. We put it in park, and Garner and I's, like, our blood pressure was probably through the roof. It was pitch black by now. There are trees everywhere. We have no idea if we're even close enough to our hookups. We didn't know. We didn't care. All we wanted to do was get into bed. So we pulled into our site, thanked him so much. And he's like, don't worry, I'm a local. Like, he had like a seasonal spot there. He's like, it happens all the time, but you know, get some sleep and you know, we can chat tomorrow. So we put our truck in park, we got out, we put our slide out, and we literally just went to bed. We were so stressed out from that situation. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't put our levelers down. We didn't hook, I don't even know if we hooked up electricity. We were just exhausted. It was pitch black. Trees everywhere. And the next morning we woke up, we did all the unhooking and got everything leveled up, and then we're looking around at the massive number of trees, a lot of them with gouges in them, and we're just like super annoyed that the RV park had been so unhelpful. And we did survive it. It was a good story. It was a very stressful very first night. Do not try to park your rig in the dark, and especially if there's a lot of trees around, because oh my gosh, I don't even know how we survived that, but we actually ended up becoming friends with the people that saved us, so thank goodness for them. I hope that's a cautionary tale for you. Don't park your rig in the dark. So there you go, those are 30 of the most common RVing mistakes that people make. I'm Krista, I'm on a quest to check off 1,000 bucket list adventures. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this series. And don't forget to click that thumbs up, it really does help me grow my channel. And I look forward to seeing you on the next 27 Saturdays where I am talking all about RVs and everything there is about the RV life. Thanks for being here, I'll see you next week. Bye. There are a lot of places that are really popular. Ready? All right, I got your hair up my nose. You're so sleepy, baby girl. You're such a sleepy kittens.